Hello, I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man. I'm with Andrew Lilley. Andrew is a partner at JMW in the personal injury department and specialised in catastrophic injuries and brain injuries as well. Hello, Andrew.
Morning, Dominic. Nice to speak to you today.
Yeah, nice to have you on the Inside Man as well, Andrew. So there's been a lot of media reports recently about brain injuries in sport, later life head injuries in sport. Does sport cause these sorts of injuries?
Yeah, it's very much become an issue at the moment, Dominic. There's a situation where we know head injuries can arise in sport, boxing, rugby. It's not uncommon, unfortunately. And you can get incidents such as the footballers collapsing with heart conditions, which can lead to hypoxic brain injury. All of those we sort of know how to deal with and know the risks of. What's become more complex in recent years are the studies that have come from footballers and rugby players in particular that do suggest a much higher incidence of things such as dementia. And in relation to that's more complicated. There is a well-established issue linked with things such as epilepsy. But what we really need to consider is what risks arise in later life.
And you mentioned later life and dementia. Is there a link between these head injuries that a player might get while playing to later life dementia?
Yeah, a good question, Dominic, and a complicated answer. I think we have to look at what dementia is effectively to be able to answer that. And there's two main types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common, and vascular dementia, which is about probably a fifth or a sixth of many in the UK. And then there are other small types of dementia, such as Creutzfeldt-Jakob, which are less common. Apart from the vascular dementia, which is caused by lack of blood supply to the brain, all the rest are caused by build-up of certain proteins. However, the situation is more complicated because post-mortem studies have found lots of people with these biometric markers that haven't actually developed any symptoms of dementia at all. So clearly it's a complicated issue. In 2017, The Lancet did a study looking at the risk factors for dementia. And it covered, I think there were 9 suggested at that time. They then amended that study in 2020 and added a further 3, which were alcohol consumption, head injuries, and environmental pollution. So it's really as recent as that the medical evidence on bringing head injuries into the game as a risk factor has started to develop. When looking at that study, The Lancet found that 40% of the worldwide cases of dementia could be linked to those risk factors, which of course by implication means 60% can't be. So when you look at that, you can see it's very complicated to say that any one factor has had a significant role or a causative role in causing the injury. There have been studies, particularly in the US. There was a study on US military men which suggested that people who suffered serious head injuries could have a 4-fold risk of developing dementia, and people who had moderate head injuries could have double the risk of developing dementia. However, other studies have looked at that study and found it didn't quite meet the requirements they need and suggested there's no causative link. So I think what is clear is less head injuries and less blows to the head are a good thing, in the same way that you would say less alcohol consumption, less smoking, maintaining a healthy weight are all a good thing. And really, that's what needs to be focused on, is reducing head injuries to the absolute minimum in the sport, whilst further studies are done to really hone in on whether or not these are having a later life effect.
Andrew, thank you very much for your insight. And if you'd like to speak to Andrew, he deals with a whole manner of injuries, including head, brain injuries. You can speak to Andrew. You can contact him insideman@jmw.co.uk or call 0161 82 81 999. I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man.